Advanced level business questions and answers. 3.10, managing strategic change. Who is this gentleman? Well, he is Charles Darwin. He wrote Origin of Species, and in this book, he's talked about the survival of the fittest. Those organisms that can adapt to new changing environments will survive. Those that don't will perish. The history of Earth species is one of extinction. 97% of the species that have ever lived have become extinct. And businesses are no different. In order to survive, they must adapt to changing circumstances. What internal factors might initiate change? Well, a change of leadership for sure. Funding, if the business has insufficient capital or has a poor cash flow, that could initiate change. The culture of the business, whether the business is innovative or not, and then whether performance is better or worse than anticipated. What external factors might initiate change? Well, looking at Pastel again, political, pandemic lockdowns, economic, inflation, unemployment, recession, booms and mergers and takeovers, social, demographic changes such as an aging population or migration, technological, waves of new technology induce creative instruction where one industry replaces another, environmental, being seen to be green and improve CSR, legal, new laws impacting on marketing, human resources and operations. Differentiate between incremental and disruptive change. Incremental change is where a business gradually alters over time. Disruptive change is more sudden and is normally where management is responding to an emergency situation. Explain the diagram. This is Lewin's force field analysis. The plan is written in the large rectangle. Forces for change are written on the left-hand side and forces against change are written on the right-hand side. Each is given a numerical value as a weighting between 1 to 5. These are added to show totals for and against change. This allows management to concentrate on issues that are most contentious, like losing key staff. What is a flexible business? It is a business that can adapt easily to external changes by altering its internal organisational structure. This may mean decentralising or centralising depending on the circumstances. The business may have core staff on permanent contracts, but peripheral staff may be on temporary or zero-hour contracts. The business will also have contingency plans for emergency outsourcing. What does the term restructure mean? This is when a business changes its organisational structure. The trend is to flatten the structure. It may also involve outsourcing and redundancies. What does the term delayering mean? This is when a business removes a layer in their organisational structure. Normally it is a layer of management, and the remaining managers then have a larger span of control and more responsibility. This is regarded as a cost-saving tactic. What are flexible employment contracts? Employment contracts may be on a permanent, fixed term, casual or zero-hour basis. The business may offer different contracts to different groups. Core workers may be granted permanent contracts, whereas peripheral workers may be offered one of the other 3 types. Differentiate between organic structures and mechanistic structures. Organic structures use decentralisation, leading to a flatter structure, which gives the business faster communication. This flat structure facilitates team working with each employee having more than one role. A mechanistic structure uses centralisation, therefore has a tool structure, and so would make communication slow. Staff tend to be specialised and stick to one job. What did Cotte and Schlesinger have to say about the resistance to change? Firstly, change might be against the individual's best interest, especially if it involves them being made redundant, relocating or losing esteem. 2, people may have a different perception of the circumstances and simply disagree with the proposed change. Thirdly, low tolerance of change. People just feel comfortable with the existing situation and are reluctant and slow to embrace change. Lastly, people may be misinformed or have misinterpreted the true facts. What did Cotter and Schlesinger's 6-point plan say about overcoming resistance to change? Firstly, education and communication. Inform employees so they know what's going on. Number 2, participation and involvement, getting key workers involved in the design and implementation of the change so they take ownership. Number 3, facilitation and support, giving people the tools to do the job and setting up support groups to help with any anxiety. Number 4, manipulation and co-option. This is where an employee who is resisting a change is offered a desirable role in the new structure, so they come on board and support it. Number 5, negotiation and bargaining, allowing some leeway so that you can compromise and get agreement. Finally, number 6, explicit and implicit coercion. This is about threatening employees such that they either comply or face redundancy. What is culture? This is about the norms of the business, influence the way things are expected to be done and how staff interact with one another and other stakeholders. What did Charles Handy have to say about the 4 types of structure? Well, he talked about a power culture where the business is centralised, power and decision making is limited to a small number of people. A role culture where the power rests with the actual role in the business. This is often associated with bureaucratic organisations such as the armed forces or police. Businesses with this type of culture tend to be risk averse and inflexible. Task culture. This is where the culture of the business is focused on getting jobs done. They use small teams, are project based and are likely to use a matrix structure. Person culture. Here the focus of each member is on themselves and their professional ability. And as a result, there is a low collective identity. For example, a large dental practice or doctor's surgery. What factors influence culture? Leadership, acquisitions and mergers, recruitment, nationality, company rules, and company role models. Explain Hofstadter's 6 dimensions of national culture. 1. Power Distance Index. This refers to the extent to which a society accepts that power is distributed unequally. In countries where PDI is low, they will usually have decentralised organisations, whereas countries with a high PDI usually accept more centralised hierarchical structures. 2. Uncertainty Avoidance Index, the extent to which people want to minimise uncertainty in their lives. 3. Individualism and Collectivism Index. This is about the selfishness or selflessness of cultures. Number 4, masculinity versus femininity. Masculine cultures are competitive and power-based, and femininity is about caring and quality of life. Number 5, long-term orientation, looking into the future as opposed to relying on tradition. 6, indulgence and restraint, the extent to which society allows them to satisfy their desires and impulses, the degree of self-control. Outline the process of strategic planning. Firstly, decide on the mission of the business. 2, set the corporate objectives. 3, conduct a SWOT analysis. 4, select potential strategies. 5, choose strategy. 6, implement strategy. And 7, monitor and evaluate. What is a contingency plan? This is a plan B that is developed in advance to safeguard against the primary plan being unsuccessful or in response to external catastrophes. Assess the importance of leadership in implementing strategy. Leaders should accept responsibility for the successful implementation of the strategy and delegate effectively. They should set a clear vision and motivate staff to achieve their objectives by involving them as far as possible in decision making. Explain the diagram below. The sender, this is the person who wants to communicate. The message, the ideas that the sender wishes to transfer to other people. Encoding, putting those ideas into a format that the receiver will understand. Channel, choosing the right medium to convey the message that could be verbal, visual, written, gestures or speech. The receiver is the intended target for the message. Decoding, here the receiver interprets the symbols and converts them to meaningful information. If the encoded message is the same as the decoded message, then the communication has been successful. This can be checked by including a feedback loop. Noise is anything that gets in the way of successful communication. What are barriers to communication? Sometimes things go wrong with the communication process because of physiological noise, which refers to physical interference with the medium, e.g. the internet goes down or a poor line during a telephone call. Psychological noise refers to the inability of the sender to construct the message effectively or the receiver's inability to decode it effectively. Assess the importance of good communications when implementing strategy. Senior managers need to communicate and translate corporate objectives into functional objectives. Department managers need to communicate this to their staff. Therefore, if communication is poor, staff could misinterpret or receive incorrect information about the strategy, leading them to act in a different way to that which the strategy actually requires. Additionally, information also flows upward to senior management, for example, sales, stock levels, cash flow, and changing market data. Outline 4 different ways a business may be structured. Firstly, a functional structure organises the business around the 4 main departments, which are marketing, finance, human resources, and operations, an extremely common method of organising a company. It could be a product-based structure. The business is organised by product, each product effectively being treated as a separate business. So here we have hair products, beauty products, health products, all separated out into different companies. A regional structure is organised on a geographical basis. It may be by county or north-south or by country in the context of multinationals. In a matrix structure, department personnel are seconded to project groups. So we would have project managers for A, B, and C, and they would communicate with personnel from each of the 4 departments. Explain the diagram. This is an example of network analysis, AQA critical path analysis. It seeks to work out the shortest amount of time in which a project can be completed. The circles are called nodes and are numbered 1 to 7, but these take no part in the calculations. The top right quadrant of a node gives the earliest start time that the following task can start. The bottom right quadrant gives the latest finish time before it delays the entire project. There are 7 tasks labelled A to G. A must be done first and takes 4 days. B takes 6 days and C takes 7 days. Neither can start until A is finished. D, taking 8 days, can start after B has been completed. E takes 10 days, can start only after C has been completed. Both D and E need to be completed before F can start. Once F, which takes 9 days, has finished, then G, which takes 5 days, can start. The project takes a total of 35 days. Where the EST and LFT values are the same indicates the critical path. The critical path, ACEFG, is depicted by small parallel lines, and any delay on this path will cause the project to overrun. There is spare time on the path between node 2 and node 5. B and D have a total of 17 days in which they can be completed, but only actually take 14 days. Hence, there is spare time of 3 days, 17 minus 14. This is called float time. Resources could be taken from these activities and reapplied to the critical path in order to reduce the overall time. Which factors may obstruct the implementation of strategy? Well, risk is normally measurable. However, uncertainty isn't. Lack of information and changes in the external and internal environment means strategic implementation may be difficult. Also, stakeholders may want different things. Resource availability, time constraints, communications, and leadership qualities all play a part. Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And then everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson. Differentiate between planned and emergent strategies. Planned strategies are actions thought about in advance to try and help the business reach its overall goals, whereas emergent strategies develop over time, resulting from the accumulation of results of lower level tactical decisions. What is strategic drift and why does it occur? When a business deliberately chooses to stay the same and not adapt to changes in the external environment. This occurs in business with an inflexible culture where management cannot see the changes or simply refuses to change course. What is meant by the divorce of ownership and control? This is when shareholders hire directors to run the business on their behalf. However, the objectives of the directors may be different from the shareholders. How might strategy be evaluated? Managers should constantly monitor progress to see if the business is meeting the corporate objectives. They do this by examining sales, costs, stocks, profits, and cash flow. This can all be done in real time by using enterprise resource planning software. Well, that brings us to the end of 3.10. So we now just have a multiple choice of 15 questions. If you have this sheet in front of you, then that's good. But if not, just jot down 1 to 15 and write the appropriate answer next to it as we go through it. Question 1, statement 1. Restructuring means building a bigger business. Statement 2, delayering means moving towards a flatter structure. Read statements 1 and 2 and then select the correct option. Question 2, according to Lewin's force field analysis, change is always disruptive. B, a balance is required between negative and opposing forces. C, if the forces for change are greater than those opposing it, then change is more likely to occur. Resistance to change is futile. Question 3, which of the following is not in Cotter and Schlesinger's list of reasons for resistance to change? A risk-tolerant culture within the business. B, a different interpretation of the facts. C, misunderstanding. D, self-interest. Question 4. Which of the following is not in Cotter and Schlesinger's list of methods to overcome resistance to change? A, education and communication. B, manipulation and coercion. C, participation and involvement. D, acknowledgement of defeat and abandon change. Question 5. Which of the following is not a type of culture as identified by Handy? A, role. B, passive. C, task. D, power. Question 6. Statement 1. According to Handy, the Metropolitan Police would probably have a person culture. Statement 2. According to Handy, a small building firm will probably have a power culture. Question 7. In the network diagram below, what is the critical path? Is it A, ACDB, B, ACE, C, BDE, or D, ECA? Question 8. In the network diagram below, what is the total float? Is it A, 6 days, B, 3 days, C, 2 days, or 4 days? Question 9. Which of the following is not a recognised business structure? A, matrix, B, emergent, C, geographic, D, functional. Question 10. Statement 1. Incremental change is slow and predictable, and planning for it is likely to be straightforward. Statement 2. Disruptive change happens quickly, and as a result, planning is likely to be difficult. Read statements 1 and 2 and then select the correct option. Question 11. Strategic drift may be caused by all of the following except A, using ERP and being aware of the business environment, B, reluctance to admit errors, C, distracted management, or D, failure to recognise a changing environment. Question 12. Contingency planning in the context of strategy means A, reviewing the existing strategy, B, having emergency funds put aside, C, hoping for the best but planning for the worst, or D, having a detailed alternative strategy ready to be implemented. Question 13. Divorce of ownership from control refers to A, a marital breakup which leaves a sole trader insolvent, B, partnerships breaking up, C, directors and shareholders holding different objectives, or D, stakeholders gaining control. Question 14. Statement 1. An internal cause of change might be a recession. Statement 2. An external cause of change might be a change of leadership. Read statements 1 and 2 and then select the correct option. Question 15. An emergent strategy is one that A, is a form of strategic drift, B, is devised by junior management, C, is planned in advance and carefully followed, or D, is one that develops from changing circumstances. Okay, let's look at the solutions to the multiple choice. So 1 is C, 2 is C, 3 is A, 4 is D, 5 is B, 6 is C, 7 is C, 8 is D, 9 is B, 10 is A, 11 is A, 12 is D, 13 is C, 14 is D, 15 is D. Okay, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed the course and I wish you the very best of luck. Goodbye.